my name is Maggie O'Rourke. I am the Assistant Manager for Education and Public Engagement at the Olympic Sculpture Park. Thank you so much for tuning in to our Sam Lights Art Making at Home series. Of course, this year, we are not able to be together at the park, so we are bringing the wonder of our annual Sam Lights program to you. We are thrilled to welcome a few Seattle-based artists who will be sharing a few light-based art activities for you to create at home and to light up your indoor and outdoor spaces in the spirit of Sam Lights. Throughout this week, check out Sam's Facebook for a live demonstration of art making at noon. Today, we are joined by artist Wyly Astley, who will be teaching us how to make knotted hanging lanterns using recycled glass jars. I hope you enjoy this art activity. Thank you so much for tuning in today.
Hi, my name is Wyly Astley, and I am a Seattle-based costumer and installation artist. And in my work, I love to use natural fibers and found objects, common objects, things that at first glance may not seem like art objects. And I love working with these materials over and over again for many reasons. I'd say though the best reason I like to work with natural fibers is the fact that I feel connected to the land. These objects come from a very specific place, plants, animals, and with, some human intervention, somehow these objects came to me. And I like, stepping into the river of that story, and then they pass through my hands and go to the next place. I love working with items that may not seem like art materials at first, because it is a way to keep those items out of the land, the plants, the animals, where they might have landed otherwise without my intervention. And I can feel good about that. I'm very excited to share a project with you today that uses both natural fiber and materials that can be found taking a walk, can be collected from your dryer. Maybe you have 8,000 thingies that you step on, your kids' toys that you've hidden up high, anything. We're just going to bring together some natural fiber like twine, rope, yarn, jute, any of those things. A glass jar, or maybe several. You might decide to make several. I love this jar. It's an old pickle jar. And inside my jar, I have loads of rocks that feel special to me at one time or another, and I've just dragged them home from walks or the beach. And you'll also need a pair of scissors, and I recommend, rather than live candles, using these battery-operated tea lights. These are wonderful because they last for a long time, the batteries are easy to get, and you can use these again and again and again and again in lots of projects, and they're safe for young people and animals to be around. And then you can hang your lanterns inside or outside. Okay, so let's get to it. To start off with, you want to choose your jar. My jar is 6.5 inches tall and 5.5 inches wide. And this particular twine that I'm using is much shorter than the 45 inches, but that's just for demonstration's sake. If you want to include your kid in this process, you could make your twine as tall as your kid if you want to. That's kind of fun for them to see. Okay, so now after you have tied all of 8 strands together with one single knot, now it's time to separate all of the strands into pairs of 2 and tie your first knot. And from this knot to this knot on my larger piece, it's 9 inches down. So I chose that randomly. That was not anything specific. But I chose my distance and tied my first knot, and then holding these together, I was able to go around and tie those knots on the other sets of twine. For the second set of knots, I decided randomly again just to travel 8 inches down and tie my second set of knots. Now for this one, if there is a tricky part, this is it. You can see right here that I have 2 sets of the 4 sets, original sets. And there are my first knots right there. And then now I'm going to join these 2 sets by separating the strings that came down from that first knot, and I'm going to tie them next to the neighbor next door. And so that leaves this one untied from the first knot. So the next place that I will choose, I will go to the neighbor here, and I will choose the leftmost string to tie to this one, and that will be my next place to tie the knot. And I know that I'm on the right track because I can see that W. I can see this W very plainly. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let's look at that step just in a different way. Here is the original knot, and then separated all of the pieces of twine into groups of 2, in which we tied 1 knot each. Then I separated these 2 strings from this original, before their first knot, and I did the same thing to its neighbor. Here's the original first knot, and I split those and I tied those together, and that gave me that V shape. And I tied those just like that. And then I went to the next neighbor and I tied the remaining string from this first knot and tied it to its neighbor in the center. Again, giving me the nice V. And then I went around and I went around. And then I've got this jar right here that I can show you how this is starting to build a little net. So this is, you can start to see how it's starting to take shape here. Okay, so once again, original knot, first set of knots, second set of knots, and for this third set of knots, I went down a much shorter distance from that knot to the third knot, and this is going to be the seat of your jar. And do the exact same thing I did for the second knot. Next, I'm going to place the jar, in this case it's a small baby food jar, inside the holder. And so it's not tied at the bottom yet, so I'm just going to split them open here. Can you see the square? Yeah, and so I'm going to put that just like that. Hold the top knot, hold all 4 of the small knots, and you can see how this is going to sit in here. So it definitely fits. I can see all my W's, and this is going to be really great. So the next thing I will do is I'm going to tie these four knots together just under those existing knots. And voila, there it is. The small demo version of the bigger one that I made with my keepsakes in it. So there's the smaller one that we just made together. And that takes me back to my original jar, which is, again, much larger. And it's filled with my keepsakes. And I want to put it in my very long holder. And so I'll just do that. And then I'm going to show you where I hung it up. see you in just a sec. Okay, so here is the bigger one, all finished, and I've added a second element here, just some hand felted wool and some cotton muslin that I've stitched onto a stick that I found on my walk. And I think I'll put this right here on my porch up on this hook right here, and I'll add my candles and we'll take a look at it again tonight when it's dark. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you make several and that it helps to make your season brighter.